Admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the time they are a-changing. Some senators and congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the time they are a-changing. Come writers and critics, prophesy with your pen, and don't speak too soon, for the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who it'll be naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the time they are a-changing. The die is thrown, the curse it is cast. The full one now will later be last, and the first one now will later be last. For the order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the time they are a-changing. Many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times must a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? How many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many days will it take until he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. They say the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Welcome to the Brattleboro Area Homelessness Awareness Vigil. My name is Carly Schrade and I work for Groundworks Collaborative. More specifically, oversee one of our vital programs, the Drop-In Center at 60 South Main Street. I am sure that most of you here tonight know where and what the Drop-In Center is, but for those of you who don't, we are a daytime homeless shelter, open 6.5 days a week right here in Brattleboro. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for attending tonight and for raising awareness around homelessness not only in our community but more broadly. Let the cold be a reminder of the adversity faced daily by our neighbors in need. Tonight we are surrounded by a broad range of community service providers, affiliates of the interfaith community, folks with lived experience, and the community at large. Tonight is a time to honor those experiencing homelessness, those who have previously experienced homelessness, and those who are no longer with us on this physical plane. We will hopefully hear some personal testimonies from those with lived experience, as well as hold a moment of silence later on in the vigil. Often we feel bogged down by the size and scope of most present-day social problems, whether it be poverty, addiction, or homelessness, to name a few. But tonight is an opportunity to come together, to learn about the needs and concerns of those living on the streets, and to unite in a tangible way towards making even the most subtle difference for our community's most vulnerable. None of the work that we do daily would be possible if it wasn't for the compassionate community we all live in, and for that, I am grateful. I wanted to start off tonight by reading a short poem. Titled, My Silence Speaks. Let my silence grow with noise as pregnant mothers grow with life. Let my silence permeate these walls as sunlight permeates a home. Let the silence from unwatered graves and craters left by bombs. Let the silence rise from empty bellies and surge from broken hearts. The silence of the hidden and forgotten, the silence of the abused and tortured, the silence of the persecuted and imprisoned, the silence of the hanged and massacred. Loud as all the sounds can be, let my silence be loud, so that the hungry may eat my words and the poor may wear my words. Loud as all the sounds can be, let my silence be loud, so I may resurrect the dead and give voice to the oppressed. My silence speaks. Thank you again for gathering here with us. I now want to introduce Lise Sparrow from the Guilford Community Church and the interfaith community to say a few words.
We're going to thank you, Carly. You can imagine what an amazing thing it is to have someone so powerful in charge of that shelter. We're so grateful to have you. No, really. So, Carly, we are so fortunate. We are going to start with a song in just a minute, but I wanted to underlay this whole event, which is about awareness of the compassion of this community, and of each other, and of those who've died, with a question that I felt kind of rising out of the silence as I was coming here, which is that question that I think motivates us all. How is it possible? How is it possible that in a community we love so well, in a nation of which we can most of the time be pretty proud, that we still have people living on the streets and dying homeless? So on top of that question, we hold this event, just letting it be our lament. So Andy has actually written a song to open us up, both the program and our hearts. So I'm going to turn it over to Andy, and then I'll say a couple more words.
All right, I handed out some sheets. When Lisa asked me to do this, I started looking for a song, and I wanted to find a song that was kind, empowering, that was about listening and learning, and I just couldn't find the right song, and I had a little free time, so I hope this is an okay song. The chorus is the last line, which is simply, keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. So if you need a copy, we got a few more extras up here. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. All right. You want to hold that? You want to play the banjo and all that? Sure, if you want to get just in the vicinity. Just somewhere close by is good. All of them, did you, Claude? I'm 65. I need at least one. Someone's got to give a sheet back. Claude is so generous, he even gave away mine. Gather round, people, this long winter's night. See among the faces hopes and dreams so bright. Reach across the darkness and find the words to say. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. Try that last line. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. Gather round, people, in the wet and the cold. Every single one of us has stories to be told. Listen to your neighbors and hear the words they say. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. Sing it again. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. Gather round, people, and breathe the frosty air. The only things we truly own are the things we have to share. Look right at your neighbor and help them on their way. Keep the kindness flowing until the coming day. Last time, keep the kindness flowing until the coming day.
Thank you. So tonight, we remember our brothers and sisters lost to us of mental illness, of addiction, of poverty. We remember them, though, as hopeful children. Remember the spark of their teenage years. We remember them as lovers, as husbands and wives. We remember them as fathers and mothers, as uncles and aunts, neighbors and friends. We see our own faces in times of trial and suffering, of courage and resilience, an undaunted faith. And we stand with them today as this day turns to evening, remembering all of who they are and who they were and who they will become to us. Let us be here with them in memory, in light, and in love. All right, so in just that spirit, we now have some people who are going to be sharing some of their stories. So
We actually first wanted to invite some of the community service providers who had mentioned wanting to speak tonight. If Jed and Cheryl, if you could come forward and say a few words, and then we'll start with the folks with lived experience. Just stay away from
Oh, so I don't make it small. Thanks, Carly. So I work for an agency that's called Pathways. We're a statewide agency. Oh, so right there. Oh. So I work for an agency called Pathways. We're a statewide agency that's mission is to end homelessness. And here in this community, I work with an awesome team. People ask me what we do, but I think the most important thing and the most fun thing is that we get to meet people where they are and just listen, hear their stories. Sometimes become part of their stories and make connections and hopefully create some change through those connections. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. Excellent. I always ask that question because it helps my nerves settle a little bit. Carly asked me to speak tonight and earlier today, and I had no idea what to talk about. So for the first time in a few years, I'm going into this blind. And since we're gathering around to hopefully create a little more awareness around homelessness, I figured I'd share a little story of mine. So April 3rd, 2012, after years of struggling with addiction and substance use, I was with my fiance at the time, and by that time we were broken up. She just couldn't put up with any more of getting evicted and me pretty much just tearing our lives apart through my substance use or me experiencing substance use. So she was going to live in her own apartment, and I was getting evicted for the second time, and I had nowhere to go. I was living in Bennington, and there was no shelter in Bennington at the time, and I had been in Brattleboro a couple years prior to that, so I knew that it was a loving community here. And on the car ride over here, I was shaken because I had no idea where I was going to live, what I was going to be doing. And we get over here, and immediately we go to the Morningside shelter, and I thought it was an emergency shelter, and I would get a bed. And little did I know, it was full. So I started trembling a little more, and I was pretty scared because I didn't want to sleep outside that night. So she was as kind-hearted as she was, and she still is. She got me a hotel room for that night, and after that, it was up to me. And the next 10 months, I spent living in front of Sleepy's mattress in that open corridor up there on Putney Road, and it was pretty awful. I'm sure all of the service providers know that you can get an idea of what it's like for people, especially people at the drop-in center and Groundworks and people who are on the front line. And I learned a lot from that experience. But with the support from a loving community and people that cared, they were able to help me find the tools necessary to put the pieces of my life back together. I remember going to the drop-in center daily to take a shower, and that was such a huge help. Being able to do my laundry there, being able to get food there, really made that experience much, much better. And today, as working for HCRS caseworker, I consider myself on the front line of helping people, get housing and sustain housing and help them, get their lives back together to a point where, they're happy living it. I really feel like I bring my experiences to the work that I do. The main message I want to get across tonight is that I am so proud. I don't believe in pride like individually. I just, for some reason, I can't be proud of myself. But I am proud to be part of this community. I'm proud to be part of people who care, people who put so much into their jobs, service providers who go to funerals of people they helped, just fills my heart, and I don't see that a lot. And for the folks over at Groundworks, I take my hat off to y'all because you all do a tremendous job, and I've never seen that drop-in center more of an accepting environment and loving environment, and I can feel that when I go in there. And for people, being here and being able to be part of people's lives like Darlene, is really, it gives me hope and meaning in my own life. And I hope that we can help elevate people who are experiencing homelessness and help them find their path and look at everybody like they have a chance to find that life that they want to live again. I think that's it for me. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Carly, thank you for allowing me to say a few words, and I'll give the mic back to you. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Hi everybody, my name is Darlene Derby. I wanted to thank Carly and everybody for giving me the time to speak tonight. I've been homeless off and on for 16 years, but the worst time was recently. I lost my husband 3 months after we got married. He died of cancer, and I couldn't afford my trailer by myself. The people we were buying it from passed away, and the kids wanted it back. So they kicked me out, and I moved back to Brattleboro with no place to go. I stayed on park benches and in doorways. I was all by myself, and I was afraid. Someone thankfully told me about the drop-in center. So I went there, and I met Rihanna, and I love that woman so much. They gave me a tent, and I was living in my tent all alone behind Whetstone. At one point, the cops burned my tent to the ground with everything I owned in it, including my husband's ashes. This was a very traumatic experience for me. I was then told I could stay at the overflow shelter, so I did. I was panhandling for money to survive. I was also actively using, as I had relapsed when my husband passed away. People gave me gloves, scarves, food, hot coffee, care packages, and cash. It helped me a lot, and I want to say thank you so much to the people that did help me. There was a turning point for me when I overdosed on 1 bag of heroin mixed with carfentanil. That scared me so bad. I had also lost my left thumb due to shooting up drugs, so I reached out for help in recovery. At that point, I started staying at the regular shelter, and I want to thank everyone who stood by me and helped me, because now I've been sober for 2 years. I want to also thank my kids and my grandkids for being a part of my life and my recovery. I don't think I'd be sober without them in my life. I'm off probation 3 years early. I'm a certified recovery coach. I'm also a Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust Board member, and the first tenant in their over 30-year history to be voted in directly from the floor of their annual meeting. I'm the resident key holder and night watch woman of Great River Terrace, where I have lived for over a year now, and I love it there. I volunteer at Turning Point in our local food shelf, as well as many other community groups and forums. I also work with Project Care, And lastly, I run a recovery meeting at Great River Terrace every Thursday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And all are welcome by my invite. So if you are interested in joining, let me know. Again, my name is Darlene Derby, and thank you for all coming out tonight, for supporting this vigil, and for listening to some of my story. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to share their story?
So forgive me, I am not usually speaking in front of individuals. This is not my thing. I normally stay to myself because I've done well by myself. Not all the time. One thing I do when I introduce myself to people like you is I learn not to hide my problems. So first and foremost, I'd like to say my name is Cam. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a 6-month survivor of homelessness right now. I'm just fresh out of all of this. This is new to me. I found a family. I found serenity by coming over here from Keene, which is where all of my problems are. Darlene, I admire your story. It almost had me in tears. Congratulations. I have a 1.5-year-old that's my miracle. I wasn't supposed to have children. They told me I couldn't because of all the stuff that I had done to myself. When I first came over here, again, I was told about the drop-in center. I went over there and asked what I could do. I got all the paperwork today. I'm in the process of switching my stuff over. This is really nerve-wracking for me. But I want to say that the amount of homelessness that's throughout the entire world is heartbreaking to me, because in the last year alone, I've lost 3 people that I was close to. I don't know much about math or statistics, but out of 100 people that I know, unfortunately, 70% of those, help came too late. And some people choose to be that way, and that's okay, because that's what they're used to. But there's the 30% that just have nobody and don't see a way out, and that's what happened to my friends. I learned to pay it forward. So when I get things for free and I see someone that's struggling, even if it's a cigarette can go a long way for somebody. I wouldn't, suggest that for everybody. I wouldn't wish that addiction on anybody, but when people are going through hell, just the simple kindness of saying hello, knowing that they're noticed, goes a long way. I'm going to be 26 years old. I've been through this 4 different times. The longest stint of sobriety I had was a 1.5 years. I still struggle it. I'm about 2 weeks sober myself after my last one. But I don't count the time. I just count what's in front of me. And as long as I'm doing the next right thing, which if that means putting my hand out to somebody else and taking them along with my journey, and I can lay my head down at night knowing I didn't say anything I'm going to regret, and I didn't do anything that I'm going to regret the next day, then I completed the 24 hours of sobriety. I completed 24 hours of not being on the street. I can then, if I don't have my recovery and I don't have my stable housing, then I don't have a job. I don't have my daughter. I don't have materialistic things that aren't just given to people. You know, I've learned that things aren't handed to you in life, you have to earn them. And I don't know, I'm running out of things to say. I'm starting to get nervous. But please don't stop helping, because there's too many people out here that still don't have the help, that still need help. Put your hand out. Let them know you're there, because that's what kept hope for me. Is people kept saying hello. People kept saying it'll be okay. You know, there's a silver lining in everything, and you could be that for somebody. Thanks.
Let's join the hug for a minute. Thank you so much. Anyone else? That's great. So I think it's about time to say the names of the people who've passed that we know of. I'd like to suggest that Andy sing the next song and that we light the candles while he's singing them. I will say the names and then we'll have some silence before we close. All right, so Andy. Yeah, so if the yeah, so if there's some matches this direction and they'll be coming your way. If you could just light, I think she set the tone for us. It's all about doing one small thing and another small thing that keeps the light burning.
So there are words on the other side if you want to join in. Some of you may know this song. There's a light. We ready? There's a light in the darkness, and the dark of the night cannot harm us. We can trust not to fear, for our comfort is near. There's a light in the darkness. Let's try that verse again. There's a light in the darkness, and the dark of the night cannot harm us. We can trust not to fear, for our comfort is near. There's a light in the darkness. It will rain in the desert, in the cracks of the plain. There's a treasure, like the thirst of the seed. We await, we believe, it will rain in the desert. First verse. There's a light in the darkness, and the dark of the night cannot harm us. We can trust not to fear, for our comfort for it is near. There's a light, there's a light in the darkness. There's a light, there's a light in the darkness, and the dark of the night cannot harm us. We can trust not to fear, for our comfort is near. There's a light, there's a light in the darkness.
So I'm about to read the names of 4 people who have passed away in our community this past year. This makes me sad because when I first came to this community, we would do this every year, always in this place. And we actually had a few years where we had no names to read. And I think because of various things, that's not true this year. But as we do prepare for this time of silence and for the reading of the names, I'd like to ask that we gather in not only these people, but other people who I'm sure all of us know, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our neighbors, who we know have walked homeless on these streets and perhaps died here. And also give thanks for all the people who've cared so much for those people, and for all the community service providers who week after week and year after year continue to try to make a difference so that we don't have deaths in our community and that everyone have homes. So let's gather in now. I'm going to ask that we be silent for about a minute, and then I'll read the names, and then I'd like, if we could, to be silent for another minute or so, and then I'll say some closing words. For some names: Scott McElroy, Aaliyah Jacobs, Norma Boyd, Sierra Nightingale. And let's take time now also for you to hold deep in your heart anyone that you would like to hold in this space of compassion. Center Church has been so nice to bring coffee for us, so you don't have to hurry away. You can stand with others and share coffee. I would ask that we remember that the point of this whole vigil has been awareness. Awareness of people living among us, awareness of how much care and concern we hold for them, awareness of how much we have left to do. So So thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you to Groundworks Collaborative and all the ways they help this community. God bless you all.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Here in Brattleboro, here in Brattleboro, I'm gonna let it shine. Whoa, here in Brattleboro, I'm gonna let it shine. Here in Brattleboro, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Look out for each other. Look out for each other. I'm gonna let it shine. Look out for each other. I'm gonna let it shine. Look out for each other. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Don't let anyone get out. Don't let anyone put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let anyone put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let anyone put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine.
Don't forget the coffee.
Some songs never stop getting. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine. Here in Brattleboro, here in Brattleboro, I'm gonna let it shine. Whoa, here in Brattleboro, I'm gonna let it shine. Here in Brattleboro,